I have a quick question for you. Are you currently thinking about quitting your job because you feel unappreciated, you feel like you're wasting your life, and maybe even you're considering about starting a business or becoming an entrepreneur? If that is the case, I want to let you know that many people like entrepreneurship because of the freedom that they see that it possibly brings, the money, and also the flexibility. Well, in this video today, I'm going to be sharing with you the truth about starting a business, about becoming an entrepreneur, and some of the real struggles that I was not taught and that many people probably are not sharing with you. Now, going throughout the past couple of years, for those that don't know me, I'm an engineer and currently working full time as an engineer, part time as an entrepreneur. And over the past few years that I have been on this entrepreneurship journey, it has truly been a roller coaster. And part of it has been because, of course, being on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, you see all of these people that are getting on these platforms and they are doing amazing things. And it causes for you to think that, man, maybe I could be doing that too. Then you even have some people that will say, well, if you go quit your job, become an entrepreneur, it's going to be the best thing that can ever happen to you. And many people went and quit their jobs. And what ended up happening is that they were in a worse situation after they quit their job and became an entrepreneur than they were if they would have kept their job and worked towards becoming an entrepreneur. And I believe that part of the reason that is of it being harder is because of the fact that you're learning something new, you have to develop yourself, and if you are not properly prepared and you're just cutting off your source or your resource for your income, then you're going to be in for a world of hurt because just because you don't have money coming in does not mean that those bills stop. So in this video today, I'm going to be sharing with you three of the struggles that I have been facing when it comes to starting as an entrepreneur. And some of these may resonate with you. If so, I hope that as I share how I've overcome these particular struggles, that it also helps you. So the first one is definitely going from an employee mindset to an entrepreneurship mindset. One of the biggest struggles is the mindset shift. Now, when it comes to the mindset shift, what I've discovered is the hardest part about the mindset shift is that I'm personally fighting thoughts, fighting ideas that are not even mine. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, Matthew, how are these not your ideas? How are these not your thoughts? Well, growing up in an environment, maybe you heard your parents arguing about money, or maybe you grew up in, a poor neighborhood, or maybe you grew up not having a lot of things, or maybe barely having ends being met or needs being met, and you start hearing different conversations about, like, I don't have money for that, or I don't know how I'm gonna pay this, or how I'm gonna do that. Subconsciously, that started to program you as you were younger. And I know personally for me, growing up with a single parent and seeing my mom work two, sometimes three jobs just to provide for us, that caused me to think of being in lack. Like, man, just to barely make ends meet, you have to work two or three jobs. But then that's when it dawned on me as they started to share with me, well, hey, look, if you don't want to work two or three jobs, you should go to school. You should go to college. You should get good grades, get a degree, and become, get a high paying degree, a doctor, lawyer, engineer. And that's going to allow for you to have the freedom. Now, for a period of time, I didn't understand that. And I was like, how am I going to have freedom? I'm sitting here working this job and I feel less free. But what I discovered is that having this job as an engineer has put me in a position that many people are not in, which allows for me to invest in myself, such as learning skills about making YouTube videos, learning skills about trading, learning skills about sales and marketing, and purchasing courses, purchasing books, being able to go to different live events and seminars and masterminds. And although I know that engineering isn't what I want to do long term, it has put me in a position to be able to invest in myself and allowing for my bills to continue to be paid. So I said all of that to say, do not quit your job yet. All right? Do not quit your job, because that is what's keeping you afloat. But you can utilize some of your extra time, such as when you're watching Netflix, maybe you're playing video games, maybe you're going out hanging out with the fellows or hanging out with the ladies. You can utilize that time to start building up different skills. And some of the thoughts that are going to come at you when it comes to this mindset are, who do you think you are? That's probably not going to work. You should just play it safe. You got a good paying job. And many of these beliefs are going to come from your friends, your family, people that you met at school, maybe your school teachers, society, because they want you to continue to be in the rat race, and also past failures. Now, I didn't say that all of these thoughts are not yours. I just said that the majority of them are not yours. And the reason the majority of them are not yours is because of the programming that you have had up until this point. So until you consciously start to unprogram yourself and then put new information in there and reprogram yourself, you're going to continue to struggle with your mindset. Now, struggle number 2 is the environment that you're in. Now, I used to hear my mom say this all the time: birds of a feather flock together. And honestly, I thought that she was just saying that because she didn't like the people I was hanging out with. Yes, that was partly true, that she didn't like the people I was hanging out with. But what I've discovered is that the people that you hang around, if they're mediocre, you're going to be mediocre. If you're hanging around people that are in shape, you're going to be in shape. If you're hanging around people that are managing their money, guess what? You're going to be managing your money. If you're hanging around people that's earning 6 and 7 figures, guess what? You're going to be earning 6 and 7 figures. So you have to start being around people who are where you want to be and who are also on the same playing field or on the same level as where you're trying to go. And the reason why it's important for you to have people that are where you want to go already is because it allows for your mind to be stretched. It allows for you to be in that environment and be challenged in a way that causes for you to grow. You know, a lot of people are not bad people, and I'm gonna really say that many people are not necessarily bad people. However, you're not trying to go where they're going. I'm not trying to go where they're going. And if you are not focused on the right things, if you're not having the right conversations, if you're not having the right language, if you're not having the right thoughts around you all the time, you're going to end up doing more harm than good. And this is why I'm reading books. This is why I go to seminars. This is why I'm constantly making sure that I'm watching something positive, because you basically are brainwashing yourself from the old you on where you were to becoming a new person. So as I stated before, you have to unprogram yourself, kick all of that stuff out. You have to renovate your mind. You have to bring in a lot of new ideas. And one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible comes from Romans chapter 12, verse 2, where it says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." For you to be transformed, you have to consistently renew your mind. Now, I didn't get the highest grades in my English class, but I do remember that it said anytime you put RE in front of a word, that means that you have to do it over. So when it says renewing your mind, that is something that is constantly taking place. Many people think that it happens every single month. Some people think it happens every single week. Some think that it happens every single day. I personally believe that it's happening every second of every single day, because you are learning and gathering new information. Now, some of the conversations that people may be having around you may be complaining. Some of them may be doubtful. Some of them may be playing small. And when you are becoming an entrepreneur or starting a business, what I've discovered is the reason why entrepreneurship is so lonely is because growth starts to separate you. Now, there was a saying that I heard someone say, it was a rapper, and he said that trees don't hang around the grass even though they both started the same place. And that was very powerful. So my question is, are you holding yourself back because you are trying to make sure you stay loyal to your friends who don't want to grow, yet they're holding you back and you're frustrated? Are you staying true to, the people that are at your job, or maybe you're part of an organization and they're not growing, or they're being stagnant, or they're thinking small? Are you keeping yourself in that environment? And what you have to really think about is this helping you grow to where you want to go? And if it's not, you have to leave. And it's not the fact that you are disrespecting them. I'm not saying be disrespectful. I'm not saying go out there and say that they're not learning anything or that they're small-minded or anything like that. Those are things that you can keep to yourself, but you need to create some type of distance between you. Maybe you don't hang out with them as much. Maybe instead of hanging out with them 4 or 5 days out of the week, maybe you only hang out with them for a couple of hours out of the week. And when you get into this new environment, that's when you're going to be able to create your new identity. So even if you think about it, a lot of times when plants or seeds are planted, they're planted by themselves. They're planted by themselves so that they can grow. Now, there may be multiple seeds that are planted at the same time, but you will never see multiple seeds growing from the same exact spot. And now that moves on to the third struggle. The third struggle is staying focused. Now, this one is a really big one. All right. Yes, we have the mindset. Yes, we have the environment, but staying focused is so very important. And this was something that was really hard for me. And even to this day is pretty hard. And I have to constantly just reel myself back in, reel myself back in, reel myself back in. And I used to think that that was a problem. However, when you're first starting out, that's just something you have to do. You have to put conscious effort towards reeling yourself back in, focusing, reeling yourself back in when you get distracted. Because that's not something that you usually do. So, delayed gratification is the real price. Entrepreneurship is about planting seeds today for a harvest that you can't see just yet. I used to think that, hey, look, if I start this week and I just go a whole week, then my life's going to be different. I go a whole week and nothing changes. And I was wondering why. And the reason being is because I had not stayed in a specific area long enough for the roots to be developed. Like, just imagine this. Imagine you go and you get a tree seed, and every single week you take that tree seed and you dig it up, you uncover it, you plant it back down. You dig it up, uncover it, or you uncover it, dig it up, plant it back down. You uncover it, dig it up, plant it back down. You do that every single week. The tree will never have time to grow. If you do that with a flower, if you do that with any type of plant, it will never have time to grow because it hasn't stayed in isolation long enough. So part of being an entrepreneur, you're going to have to stay in isolation. You have to stay in isolation for as long as it takes. For some people, if you have complete isolation, it may be 90 days. For other people, it may be 6 months. For other people, it may be 12 months. For other people, it may be 3 years. Everyone is going to be different. However, you have to understand that, one, you are not going to have immediate results. Number two, you're not going to have any applauses. Number three, there aren't any guarantees. And number four, it's always going to be easy to ask yourself, is this even working? Now, I remember listening to Myron Golden, and he said something that was very important. He said the reason why so many people do not succeed is because of the fact that they are focusing on what they have to do instead of focusing on who they need to become. And when he said that, at first I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Who you have to become? And he said that if you focus on being the person who already has this result, that's what's going to help you get the result that you want. So I started to think like, man, okay, that kind of sounds like faking it until you make it. But the reality of it is, because you are changing who you are changing your environment, you are changing your mindset, you are actually not faking it until you make it. You are changing into a new person. You are becoming a new being. And for that to take place, it's going to require for you to stay focused. It's going to require for you to have delayed gratification. And it's going to require for you to make sure that you are not just focused on getting the applause from people. Because truth be told, people really don't care what you're doing. The only time they really care is when it affects them in some type of way. Now, one of the reality checks that you have to think about, that I had to think about, is the fact that most people quit in the unseen phase. Now, one of the things that I really enjoy about learning about plants is the fact that when you plant the seed down, nobody sees the seed stop being a seed and start to create sprouts and roots and all that other stuff until it pops up above the ground. So when it comes to plants, plants are planted, they're planted down, they're covered up, they grow towards gravity, which means gravitropic, and then they grow phototropic, which means they grow towards the light. But the tree can only grow as deep as the root system can withstand. So part of being in the isolation phase, part of being alone, part of being misunderstood, part of being disliked, part of being talked about, is you being in that isolation phase so you can develop your root system. So then when you start to grow and people start saying things like, man, I always knew you could do it, your root system is strong enough to withhold you. So for everyone that is considering quitting your job, and maybe you are considering quitting your job, I just want to encourage you that it is not going to be an easy road. Quitting your job to start a business, quitting your job to become an entrepreneur, do I personally believe that it could have a great reward? Yes. However, I also want you to understand that you have to be patient with yourself. There are skill sets that you must learn. And entrepreneurship is not easy. The things to do are simple, but it's not easy. And the reason why it's not easy, the reason why it's frustrating, the reason why many people quit and go back to getting a job is because it is very uncomfortable, because of the fact that you have to change. You have to change your mindset. You have to change your environment, and you have to make sure that you stay focused. Because if you do not have these three things, you are going to continue to stay stuck. Many people will say, well, I probably thought that you were going to say fail. And failing is really part of the process. Just because you start doing something and it doesn't work doesn't mean that you're not necessarily supposed to do it. Maybe it means you're knocking down barriers, you're knocking down walls. When a baby gets ready to walk, what happens? The baby tries to stand up. It tries to stand up, it falls down. Tries to stand up, fall down. It stands up, now what does it do? Try to take the first step. Take that first step and it falls down. What does it do? Stand back up, try to take the first step. Once it gets that first step, then it takes another step. And that is how we continue to learn as we become older, as we become more wiser, as we decide to try different things. You learn by failing. So don't try to avoid the failure. People are going to talk about you because they don't understand that the way that you're going to learn, the way that you're going to become better is by failing. So I hope that you were able to, get some value from this video. I want you to make sure that you remember, stay focused, make sure you're watching your environment, and also make sure that you are developing the right mindset. And these are some of the truths when it comes to deciding to be an entrepreneur that many people do not talk about and they are not ready for it. But I hope that this helped you. If so, make sure you go and hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on this journey that I'm documenting as I am building wealth, leaving the 9 to 5, becoming a full-time entrepreneur, and I will catch you in the next video.